Yo, welcome to the channel. In this video today, we're going over the Magicka Templar for the Deadlands patch. This is a very easy, accessible setup, I guess, the best way I know to put it. All of it is overland set, except for, of course, the monster set. But let's go ahead and dive into it. Maximum Magicka is 37.6k. Maximum health is 18.6. Magic recovery is 1.4. Spell damage is 3.4, spell critical is 60.6, spell pen is 5.3. Now, I am a Briton. Britons are more for sustain, so if you care more about damage than sustain, and trust me, I have no issues with sustaining. There's a good chance that I'm going to make this more damage focused. Go High Elf, Dark Elf, or Khajiit. Those would be the top three choices. But you can complete the content on a Briton as well. It really doesn't matter. If you're not pushing for score runs or trying to min-max, you can honestly be whatever race you want to be. But if you're looking for the top three, High Elf, Dark Elf, and Khajiit are your three. So, outside of that, I have 64 points into Magicka. The food I'm running is the Ghastly Eyeball, but it shows up as the Ice Cream. And the boon I'm running is the Thief. Don't worry about Vampire. I've just been bitten. I haven't been cured. This right there, that plays no effect on the build at all. I've just been bitten. But yeah, so the boon I'm running is the Thief, Food, Ghastly, Eyeball. Now, Ghastly Eyeball gives me max Magicka, and it also gives me magic recovery, 459 max recovery. Like I said though, if you're a Briton and you have no trouble sustaining like I do, you can always go with the Purifying Bloody Mara. It gives us 4.6k max Magicka and 5k max health. Or if you want to go the cheap route, max health gives you Solitude Salmon Millet Soup gives you 5.3k max health and 4.9k max Magicka. And then of course, if you want a little bit of everything, Witch Mother's Potent Brew gives you 2.8k max Magicka, 3k max health, and 311 magic recovery. This is just a little bit of everything if that's what you're wanting. This is going to give you a lot of magic recovery and a lot of magic health, a lot of max Magicka and max health. This will give you even more of each one. Actually gives you less. That is crazy. Okay. So yeah, go Solitude over Purifying Bloody Mara. But Ghastly Eyeball, if you don't need more max health, I'm comfortable at the 18k, but if you feel like you need more than that, or if you're needing more than that, go Witch Mothers if you just need a little bit more max health. Go Solitude if you just want more max health, more max Magicka in general. So, any of those food will work. So, champion points, Green Tree for the passives. I have Gilded Fingers and Fortune Favors. This is just for gold. Fortune Favors increases the amount of gold I find in treasure chests and safe boxes by 50%. Gilded Fingers gives me an extra 10% gold from everything. Quests, loot that I pick up from taking out a mob. I guess I'm trying to be a little, watch what I say in some of these videos. And then we go over here to Wanderer. I just have it to bridge the gap. It basically reduces cost of way shrines. I don't use way shrines as much just to jump around, so running out of pocket for that doesn't really bother me. I just travel to guild baits. Steadfast enchantment. Basically what this does is that it gives us when our weapon enchantment charges, like our increased weapon and spell damage on our back bar, or our flame damage enchant on our front bar, when that procs, this has a 50% chance to not consume it. That's all it does. It's very nice to have once you have that extra champion points. But outside of that, the ones that I keep on my bar, I keep Treasure Hunt on my bar at all times because it increases the quality of items I find in treasure chests. That's Dolmen chests, chest overland, chest and trials. If you get it out of a chest, this gives you a chance to get a better item. Now, if you are in a normal, it is not going to give you a. If you are in a normal dungeon, this does not increase the chances of you getting a purple necklace or ring out of a chest because it will still be blue. But it has a chance of turning a simple chest into, let's say, like an advanced chest. You have a chance to you have a better chance of getting a set piece from that chest, that simple chest, than you do if you didn't have it. These two, Plentiful Harvest and Master Gatherer, they're just there while I'm waiting for group queues, trial teams to form, whatever. Master Gatherer reduces the time it takes for me to harvest resource nodes by 50%, and Plentiful Harvest gives me a 50% chance to get double resources from those nodes. But if these do not concern you at all, the two I would replace them with, it's Steed's Blessing. This increases your out of combat movement speed by 20%, and Rationer increases your drink and food buff by 30 minutes. So, the last one that I keep on my bar at all times is Liquid Efficiency. Whenever you use a potion or poison, you have a 10% chance to not consume it. If I'm using my spell power pots, or if I'm using poisons, or if I'm just using my trash pots, it does not really matter. This gives me a 10% chance to not consume it, so it's just there. Especially when I'm using spell power pots or poisons, for whatever reason, this gives me a chance to not have to spend gold or have to spend resources in making more. So, it's good to have. Now, in the red tree, there are so many passives, so the ones that I keep on my bar is Boundless Vitality gives me 1400 max health, Fortified gives me 1.7k armor, Rejuvenation gives me an extra 90 health, magic, and stem recovery, and then Siphoning Spells, when I land the killing blow on an enemy, I get an extra 1500 magic. Now, for passives, Defiance, Tumbling, Hero's Vigor is a really solid one to have. It is one of those passives in the red tree that you want as soon as possible. It gives you an extra 560 max health. And then over here, Hasty, Sprinter, Tireless Guardian, Fortification, Savage Defense, and then Bashing Brutality. Now, Savage Defense is pretty good on Magicka Templar. Not really for any other reason, but because we are so close. If you're using the spam bull that I have here, where we're up close, the jabs, if you're using jabs, then you're going to be right up the butt of the boss. So if the tank gets pinned, or for whatever reason there's not a bash being hit, it's up to you to bash. So that extra reduced cost and stamina, it can go a long way. Especially if you're having to roll dodge a lot, every little bit counts. Nimble Protector here, it's just basically while we block, we get to move a little more. A really good solid one to have here is you can go bridge the gap either way, they're both 10, is Tempered Soul. When you get resurrected, you get an extra 10% more resources back. And that's great, because it's going to happen. You're going to get caught sleeping, maybe you're laughing, maybe you're cutting up with your buddies. For whatever reason, you get caught, you get dropped. Maybe they intentionally set you up to get dropped. It doesn't matter. I've had that happen in a trial. Healers and everybody stopped just to wait for me to get one-shotted. And the moment I got one-shotted, they all lined up to teabag me one after the other. So, and my wife and Guildmaster are the ones that paid the people to do it. So, great times. But when you get caught, at least this way you'll come up with more resources and you can do more than, you won't have to rely on that orb or that shard to give you your resources to do stuff. At least this way you can come up and you can start your rotation all over. And I hope you should have enough resources by the time your potion comes up to be able to get into the swing of things. So, now, sets. Sets are very simple, very easy. The first one is War Maiden. This comes from Vardenfell. This is great on a Templar. Just about everything that they do gets buffed by this set. This is a named staff. It is a Inferno staff, and that is what you want. And what this does is that this Inferno staff comes from Vardenfell. It comes from the quest right here. You will have to do the little city quest here, but then you'll get a little quest about right here after you do. It takes a total of like 5 minutes if you're not reading anything to get to this quest, and then you basically just have to kind of travel around and knock out 4 little areas. That's it. That's like 4 little Daedric shrines, I believe, or portals, something like that. Once you take them out, you return them. The quest took me a total of 20 minutes. The most of the time, it was me running around. Luckily, I asked the guildmate to just kind of port me to each corner of the map. You already have this one, so they ported me here, here, and here. And then I just kind of ran in between. So, but the quest is up here. It's an Inferno staff. And if you don't want an Inferno staff and want the lightning staff, I think the lightning staff is either sharpened or precise, and you can get it from doing this quest here in Genesis. Doing the town quest here at the end, I believe you get a lightning staff. It's a named lightning staff as well. So, you can get whichever staff you want. But the flame staff is the one I prefer, but you can't go wrong with the lightning staff either. So, just whatever works. Now, we're running a precise with a flame enchant. Now, what this set does, gives us critical chance, max magicka, weapon, and spell damage, and then it adds 579 weapon and spell damage to our magic damage abilities. Pretty much every one of our abilities are magic damage, except for maybe 2. So, this is worth using. 579 is definitely one of the more higher end sets, but that's it. Now, you're not going to see this. It does not reflect on the stat sheet, like here. It's not going to reflect here. You're not going to see that extra damage here on your tool here, but you're going to see it on the toolkit of your abilities. So keep that in mind. Just now, the other set that we're running is the Maelstrom Inferno Staff on our back bar, infused with a weapon damage enchant. Basically, your light and heavy attacks deal an additional 1.3k damage to enemies in your wall of elements. Now, this comes from normal Maelstrom Arena. Normal is very easy to do at 160 or even 200. It should take 20 to 30 minutes. No problem at all to get in there and get this. It may take a few runs, but it is worth going in and getting. Now, if you have trouble light attack weaving, like you're not comfortable doing it, then just stick with the War Maiden. Just put War Maiden on your back bar too. Like, you don't even have to reconstruct this. Put the lightning staff on your back bar and use the Inferno staff on your front bar, or just switch them up. Or if you have a second character that is level 50, CP 160, then you could do them on both of them and have 2 Inferno staffs. It comes infused. Like, when it comes from the quest, it is infused. This is how it comes. Although, I think it's blue when you get it from the quest. So you will have to upgrade it. But it comes infused with Absorb Magicka enchant. You just put a weapon damage enchant on it. Make it gold. And you'll have your infused Inferno staff that you can put on your back bar if you don't have the Inferno staff, or if you're not very good at light attack weaving. If you're not good at light attack weaving, then you're probably going to get more out of having this set static at all times over having the Maelstrom Inferno staff on your back bar. Now, I do recommend practicing and getting the hang of light attack weaving, but if for whatever reason you don't want to or don't have the time, then just run a second Inferno staff on your back bar. You're going to get more out of having that full 5p static effect than the Inferno staff. Now, but with that, we also run the jewelry, which these you will get from chests, from Overland. You can buy from traders. Honestly, the prices vary so much. I've seen some as low as 2k, and I've seen some as high as 30k. Just shop around. I'm on PS4 NA, or PS4, PS5 NA. Just shop around until you find good deals. Now, we're running them with all spell damage. Now, 1 infused, 2 bloodthirsty, 3 bloodthirsty, or for certain cases, 2 infused, 1 bloodthirsty. Whatever you want to do, however you like to run it. Honestly, I would stick with at least 2 bloodthirsty, 1 infused. That's just my personal preference. Or you can stick with arcane. It's not that big of a deal, but bloodthirsty and infused, I do believe infused outperforms arcane just by a smidge, not by much, but bloodthirsty outperforms infused once you get past 60% on the boss. So it's up to you. Do whatever you like. Do whatever makes you feel good about it. It's your character. Run it how you like. But for this setup, I just have 3 arcane with 3 spell damage enchants on them. That's it. Now, the monster set, Near Ends. This comes from Crypto Hearts 2. It is a very easy dungeon to get through on vet. So 160, you can get in there and get this. No problem. And if you have guildmates, you could probably get in there and get it done a whole lot sooner and fill in your sticker book. So that way you can reconstruct one the moment you hit 160. But basically, this gives us weapon and spell damage on the one piece. And when we deal direct damage, we have a 15% chance to summon a leech crystal that explodes after 2 seconds, dealing 6.7k magic damage to all enemies within 4 meters. This effect can occur once every 3 seconds and scales off the higher of your weapon or spell damage. Now, War Maiden does not buff this. I don't know why it doesn't. It just doesn't. It's mostly because, honestly, I do believe it's because of the fact that it's scaling off your weapon or spell damage. So because War Maiden is not showing up on our weapon and spell damage, it's not going to get buffed by this. That's just, but it does crit. So it is worth using. It is definitely one of the more easier sets to get. And it's magic damage. So it sticks with the theme if you want to go with that route. But running 2 pieces medium, both divines, both with max magicka. That's it. Now, if you want to go with a set that will buff Nirans, if you're okay with farming for this stuff, me, I really like Scathing Mage. It gives you max magicka, critical, and when you deal direct damage, you have a 20% chance to increase your spell damage by 486 for 5 seconds. It's just 5 seconds, but it's going to add to your weapon and spell damage, and in turn, that is going to buff your Nirans. If you don't want to do DLC, you can go into City of Ash and get Burning Spellweave. It gives you max magicka, weapon and spell damage, critical, and when you deal damage with a flame damage ability, you apply the burning status effect to the enemy, increase your weapon and spell damage by 461 for 8 seconds. Effect can occur once every 12 seconds. Now, you can run with this, because, I mean, we're running it flame staffs, so it will proc. It's usable. Not the best. Personally, I like Scathing Mage, but by all means, Burning Spellweave is just fine. Now, if you don't want to go with that, you can always get somebody to craft you New Moon's Acolyte or Julianos. You'll have to run the second 5-piece set on the jewelry and 2 on the body, and then have New Moon or Julianos as the weapon and 3 pieces on the body. But you can do that too. Very easy to do, very easy to get. Just keep that in mind. For monster sets, Nirant, though, is definitely probably the easiest to get, or not necessarily the easiest, but it's worth using. Now, out of Crypto Harps, the easiest, Elabras. That's just the first one. The first Crypto Hearts dungeon is probably the easiest to get, and it gives you max magicka. When you do flame or shock damage, you have a 33% chance to summon a meteor shower that deals 616 flame damage and shock damage to all enemies within 4 meters. So, I mean, if you want to go with that, it crits. So, I mean, if you want to use that, by all means, go for it. It definitely is probably the easiest one to get. But Nirant outperforms Elaborance. Now, if you want to go with other sets, if you're comfortable with light attack weaving, hold on, before I get into that, Maul the Infernal is a really solid one as well. And this is another one that works off your light or heavy attacks. It gives you max magicka, and when you deal damage with a light or heavy attack, you have a 33% chance to summon a fire-breathing Daedroth in 15 seconds. Daedroth attacks deal 2.5k flame damage every 2 seconds. Daedroth can only be summoned once every 15 seconds, and its damage scales off the higher of your weapon or spell damage. I believe this one can proc too. Or crit, not proc, but crit. I think the only one that doesn't crit is Zon's for the monster set. There might be another one, but I think for magic sets, I think Zon's it. If I'm wrong, then please let me know in the comment section. But I believe Maul doesn't crit. I believe Maul crits. I know Zon doesn't crit. So, but Maul comes from Banished Cells 2. That dungeon isn't as easy as Crypto Hearts 2, but it is easy. Like I've seen, you're either going to get stuck from the second from last boss, where she jumps in portals and stuff like that, or sometimes you just get stuck in the last boss because you don't have the DPS to burn the boss down before you get overrun with Daedroths, or for whatever reason. It can kind of be a pain. Like I'm a tank main, and I've been in dungeons where that last boss just, I don't know what happens. We just get to that last boss and can't get it down. So I don't know. But Maul the Infernal is really good as well. But it's going to reflect off your light attacks, light or heavy attacks. But as you light attack weave, that will proc Maul the Infernal. But if you're not good with that, then it's not really going to do you any good. Like if you're just spamming your abilities until you're out of magicka, then you start heavy attacking, then this set isn't going to be as beneficiary as something like Nirant. Now, another one that doesn't rely on light or heavy attacks is Grothar. It gives you max magicka. When you deal damage to an enemy within 8 meters, you have a 10% chance to create lava pools that swirl around you, dealing 1k flame damage to all enemies within 8 meters of you every 1 second for 5 seconds. We're right up on the enemy. So that 5 meter radius or that 8 meter radius of you isn't a big deal because we're going to be right there. So you can definitely go with this. You can also go with something like just 2 pieces Slime Crawl. Gives you critical chance and minor berserk at all times, increasing your damage done by 5%. This comes from Wayrest Sewers 1. That's a really easy dungeon to get into too. Uh, so non-DLC, any of those would work. Now, if you're good with your light attack weavings, Kilner's Nightmare is definitely one of my favorites. It gives you weapon and spell damage, and damage an enemy with a light attack puts a bone stack on them for 5 seconds, up to once every 0.5 seconds. At 5 stacks, an undodgeable skeleton hand attacks your enemy after 1 second, knocking them into the air and stunning them for 3 seconds, or dealing 11.1k magic damage if they cannot be stunned. Enemies then become immune to Nightmare stack for 4 seconds. Damage scales off the higher of your weapon or spell damage. Now this is another good monster set to run, but again, it is based off of whether or not you light attack weave. And this is more focused on light attack weaving than Maw of the Infernal, because it takes 5 stacks, so your 5 light attacks is going to proc this. So if you're not good with light attack weaving or not comfortable with it, that set it's not going to do you as much good as Graftar or Nirant or even Slime Crawl. So it's up to you. Just use whatever you're comfortable with. Those are some examples of sets that can work with your light attack weaving and sets that don't. So there's options for you. Now, the second 5-piece set is our crit set. We're running Mother Sorrow. This comes from Deshawn. It's an overland set. It's a very easy set to get now. Honestly, I think most of these prices have drastically went down even for Divines. I think the only one that might be a little expensive is the Waste. I think for the most part you can find any of these pieces. I've seen some for 5k, but for the most part they do range between the 10 and 15k. Sometimes the Waste can get up there to like somewhere between 20 and 30k. But you can go farm this stuff yourself now. Just don't bind any pieces until you get the Divines. That's it. Like I would bind the head and shoulders so you don't pick them up, but you can farm these due to the new RNG system. So it's an Ebonheart, Deshawn. You basically just farm, bind these, and bind the weapons, except for the Inferno Staff, because unless you just want to farm for the right trait, which I would say Precise Inferno, so I wouldn't bind this, but the rest of them you can bind, and then just farm these. You'll get these guaranteed every time, as long as the rest of these are filled out as well, and just keep at it until you get Divines. So it's an easy way to do it. If you don't want to spend the gold, just bind everything else except for the chest, waist, hands, legs, and feet. You can go into the public dungeon in Deshawn. There's a little circle that you can do. I don't think I can zoom in, but the public dungeon is right here. I don't think I can zoom in there off of this. I cannot. But there's just a little circle that you could take. There's usually people in there running it. You can ask for a group, or you can just do it yourself. You can get chest, hands, and legs in the public dungeon, and then go to a delve boss, which there's a delve right next to the public dungeon, and you can get waist and feet. So it won't take long. It doesn't take long to farm it now, due to the new RNG system. But if you don't want to pay for it, but we're running it all in the body, all Divines, all with max Magicka. So for the other crit sets, though, if you wanted to, you can do Board Maiden on the body if you wanted to, if you want to keep that static, and then run Medusa on weapons and jewelry. The reason why you would have to do that is because Medusa is a heavy armor set, so you would have to get jewelry and the Inferno Staff, and then you would pretty much, it gives you critical chance, critical chance, critical chance, critical chance, and then you gain minor force at all times, increase your critical damage by 10%. There are other sets. Dungeon-wise, there is one from Frostfall here. Zovgin's Warband. This is a medium armor set, so it's like you can wear 2 pieces on the body, and run your monster set in light, so you don't have to worry about farming the Inferno Staff if you don't want to, and then run the jewelry. So outside of that, there is an overland set that works very similar to Medusa and Zovgin's, and that is Griffin's Ferocity. Basically, it's a medium armor set, so again, you can run this. You'll have to run the either 2 pieces on the body or the Inferno Staff and jewelry. This set, you can get away with running the Inferno Staff and jewelry if you wanted to, because it will stay active at all times. And it basically gives you critical chance, spell damage, and after you dealing direct damage, you gain minor force and minor expedition for 10 seconds, increasing your critical damage done by 10%, and increase your movement speed by 15%. So you can definitely run this set as well. So those are the crit sets: Mother Sorrow, Medusa from Mark's Cranium, Zovgan's Warband from Frostvault, or Griffin's Ferocity Overland set from Somerset. Either one of those can work for you as your crit set. Ward Maiden, Scathing Mage, Ward Maiden from Vardenfell, Scathing Mage from Imperial City Prison, and Burning Spellweave from City of Ash, or Crafted sets, Julianos, and New Moon Acolyte. Any of those could work for your damage set. Monsters sets, if you're comfortable with light attack weaving, Yawner's Nightmare, Maw of the Infernal. If you're not comfortable with light attack weaving, Neurinth, Slimecrawl, Groftar, and Elambris. So, those would be the sets. Now, skills: main spammable, puncturing sweeps. Very easy. It's one of the first abilities you'll get from your spear line. You launch Relentless Assault, striking enemies in front of you 4 times with your spear. Spear deals 3.7k magic damage to the closest enemy and 1.4k magic damage to all other enemies. Each strike reduces the movement speed of the closest enemy by 40% for 1 second. You heal for 40% of the damage done with this ability. So this is a nice little heal for you, and it's an AoE ability, so it's just nice. Degeneration, bind an enemy with chaotic magic, dealing 15.1k magic damage over 11 seconds. SS magic spills out from them, granting you major sorcery, increasing your spell damage by 20% for 22 seconds. So this is how we're going to get major sorcery, so we can get away with using trash pots. If you don't want to use this, there is another dot that you can use that is pretty fun to use. It's Vampire's Bane, but it lasts for 16 seconds. It's a nice little flame dot. But it's not going to, it's going to kind of mess up the rotation. It won't be as static as it would be with Degeneration. This Degeneration is from the Mage's skill line, so you're going to have to get it to, I think, 3 in order to unlock it, but it's worth it. Now, Consuming Trap, Soul Trap Morph. You start off with Soul Trap from the very beginning, no matter if you do the tutorial or complete the tutorial. And what this does is it lays claim to an enemy soul, dealing 15.1k magic damage or 7.8k physical damage over 10 seconds. The damage dealt is based on your highest offensive stat, so we're getting the extra magic damage. If an affected enemy dies, you fill an empty soul gem and heal for 3.2k. You also restore 6.4k magicka and 2.1k stamina. This portion of the ability scales off your max magicka, or max health, magicka, and stamina. So this is a nice little ability to kind of help us sustain as well. It's a very easy ability. It's another dot, and it lasts for 10 seconds. Now, this is just kind of here to kind of keep the rotation static. If you're comfortable with kind of a sporadic rotation, you can go with Purifying Light. This is a really good ability to use. Basically, you summon an expanding beam of pure sunlight to doom an enemy, dealing 5k magic damage to them and copying all their damage taken from you for 6 seconds and releasing 50% of it as an additional magic damage to them. Maximum copy damage 12.9. When the effect ends, a pool of sunlight remains attached to the enemy, healing you and nearby allies for 2.2k health every 2 seconds for 6 seconds. This lasts for 6 seconds. Just about everything else is going to last anywhere between 10 and 14 seconds, roughly. So that lasting for 6 seconds, it is a little weird. Vampire's Bane lasting for 16 seconds, again, it makes it a little wonky. So you can just go with it. If you're comfortable with light attack weaving, Solar Barrage is a really nice one to replace here as well. Conjure solar energy to blast enemies around you, dealing 2.4k magic damage every 2 seconds for 10 seconds. While this ability is active, you gain Empower, increasing the damage of your light and heavy attacks by 40%. So as you work on light attack weaving and getting that up, Solar Barrage, I would replace Trap here, Consuming Trap, for Solar Barrage. That's just me. Purifying Light is nice, but I don't know if you have another Templar in your group running this, or if you have a Sam Templar running the other morph. I don't know if they cancel each other out or not. So it's all, sometimes I run it, sometimes I don't. If I know I'm the only Templar in the group, I'll run it. If I'm not, then I usually just stick on Solar Barrage. That's just me. But to keep the rotation easy, non-complicated, I went with Consuming Drop here. Um, no problem at all. Lasts for 10 seconds. Does a good chunk of damage. And we gain some resources back. So, and then Radiant Oppression. Burn an enemy with a ray of Holy Fire, dealing 11.3k magic damage over 1.8 seconds. Deals up to 500% more damage to enemies below 50% health. This is our execute. I understand it says it does 500% more to enemies below 50% health, but I really wouldn't start using this until the boss is 20%. You know, now if you're in a trial though, that 20% might be more closer to 10%. But for most overland and normal dungeons, 20% is about where you would want to go. Stop using sweeps and start using Radiant Oppression, unless the mob is on you. If you need a consistent heal, then use your sweep still. Just keep going with it with sweep. If you have a healer, the boss is not on you, or the overland monster is not over you, the world boss, go with Radiant Oppression. Drop sweeps. Just start using Radiant Oppression. Inner Light. It's really here for while slot your max magic is increased by 5%, and you gain Major Prophecy, increasing spell critical rating by 2.6. So we have Major Prophecy from this as well. So we get Major Prophecy and we get Major Sorcery. So this allows us to get away with using trash spots if we wanted to. So it's up to you. Crescent Sweep. Swing your spear around with Holy Vengeance, dealing 10.4k magic damage to all nearby enemies and an additional 5k magic damage every 2 seconds for 6 seconds. Enemies in your path will be hit for 60% more damage. Usually to start off with, I use the ultimate on the back bar, which is the Destro ult, and then I finish up with the Crescent Sweep. After that, I use Crescent Sweep. 71 ultimate, this is 237. So it's just, you get this back like every 2 rotations. So it's definitely worth using this one over this one. So, but for that quick burst on opening fights, Fire Rage outperforms. So, now, Unstable Wall of Fire. Slam your staff down to create an unstable flame barrier in front of you, dealing 1.2k flame damage to enemies in the target area every 1 second. Burning enemies take 20% more damage from this ability. When the effect ends, the barrier explodes, dealing 6.9k flame damage. Now, this lasts for 10 seconds as well. So, but the cool part about it is that you just put it here, it explodes. So, even with the 10 seconds, it doesn't necessarily have to be down for the full 10 seconds to get the explosion. So even if you're a second or two too soon, when you, like, let's just say you're doing your rotation, you get ready to recast your abilities on your back bar and you rotate, you can cast this a second or two too soon, and you'll still get the explosion off. So it's not a huge deal. I need to remember to finish my randoms on my back bar to level these skills up. But this lasts for 10 seconds. Blazing Spear. Send your spear into the heavens to bring down a shower of Divine Wrath, dealing 8.3k magic damage to enemies in the area, an additional 835 magic damage every 1 second for 10 seconds. An ally near the spear can activate the Blessed Shard synergy, restoring 3.9k magicka or stamina, whichever maximum is higher. So, and then we have Barb Trapped here. This lasts for 20 seconds. When triggered, it takes 1.5 seconds, almost 2 seconds, to arm. When triggered, the trap deals 2.5k bleed damage, an additional 9.2k bleed damage over 18 seconds, and grants you minor force, increasing your critical damage by 10% for the duration. Enemies who activate the trap are immobilized for 2 seconds. So pretty much 20 seconds. So you can use it on the first and rotate, and then keep going. And then on that second rotation, you know, because you're going to be back every 10 seconds, you'll have to cast this. So, this is every 2 rotations you'll use this. Now, Channel Focus, create a rune of Celestial Protection, gain Major Resolve for 25 seconds, increasing your physical resistance and spell resistance by 5.9k. You also recover 242 magicka every 1 second over the duration. Standing within the rune heals you for 885 health every 1 second, which scales off your max health. Now, this is to kind of help us sustain, plus it's just kind of there. If for whatever reason we don't have a tank, or the tank, tank is fake, I got aggro, I can use this. It's going to provide me some heals along with my jabs, and I can pretty much, I'm a nice little tanky boy. As you can see, 23.3k and 17.4 physical. Heavy attacks, I may still need a roll dodge to not get one-shotted, but for the most part, it does me good. Now, if it doesn't matter to you, you can go with a shield if you want to here. Basically, just absorbs 9.3k damage for 6 seconds. So you can go with this. You can go with the shield if you want. But personally, I like having this. A little extra sustain, a little extra healing. I just like it. And the inner light, this is a flex spot. If you don't care to have inner light on your back bar too, you can put your shield on your back bar. That's what you want to go with. So, but I don't really need my shield. So I just kind of keep inner light here. Fire Rage, create a catalytic storm at the target location that builds for 2 seconds and lay waste to all enemies in the area, dealing 10.2k flame damage every 1 second for 7 seconds. So, nice little ultimate to kind of start off. Now, DPS wise, this is pretty easy, a little 34k, and I am kind of freezing up and lagging a little bit. I will say that. Usually, it's 35, but 34 isn't that big of a deal. Like as you can see, I had to do this a couple times. 32.9, 32.3, 32.7. I kept freezing. It would be a couple seconds there where I would just stand still and not do anything. I don't know. So, but this one wasn't so bad. So it shows a little bit. It was 2k higher than the rest. So I just kind of went with that. I was like, that's it. I'm done. I've done this too many times. You know, that was like my 4th or 5th one. So I was just done. So I didn't feel like doing it anymore. But now rotation-wise, this is pretty standard. You can either use spell power pots or trash pots. Doesn't really matter. And basically, you can have this down in a fight if you like. It's up to you. But always pop your pot. Barb Trap, Blazing Spear, Unstable, Bar Swap, Soul Trap, Structure, and then you'll be able to get off about 2 jabs. 2 to 3 jabs depending on your speed, and then you just rotate and start it over. That's pretty much it. 2 to 3 jabs. You can get a little bit more. Use your ultimate in replace of a jab when you can. Every second rotation, you'll come back, cast Trap. If you feel like you're still going to need resources, use that. Use your little ruin, and then just kind of replace it with a jab. So instead of 3, you might do 2, and then you'll just come back. So every 2 rotations, and like I said, your trap or your ultimate or ruins, you'll replace the jab. So sometimes you'll do 1, sometimes you'll do 2, sometimes you can do 3. It just depends on if you're going to cast an ultimate, use trap, ruin. Those are kind of variables. But for the most part, everything is in 10-minute increments. So wall, spear, trap, structure, couple jabs. If you have no ultimate, barb trap is up, ruin is down, 2 to 3, and then you just repeat the process. It is very easy. It is very simple. There is nothing crazy. It's a pretty static rotation. Now there are better rotations, but this is a pretty static one that will allow you to hit the numbers to get through a lot of 4-man just about any 4-man content. Shouldn't have any trouble doing any 4-man content. So yeah, it's Magicka Templar. Very easy to do, very easy to obtain. Let me know what you think, and until next time, take care.